And welcome into another exciting edition of Locked On 76ers. I can't believe it, Keith. We're doing the impossible. Grimes Watch goes to the top of the list, and it's not at all for a good reason. We'll talk about that and more on this edition of Locked On 76ers.
You are Locked On 76ers, your daily Philadelphia 76ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And we do thank you for making Locked On 76ers your first listen every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Keith, this is a tough one. Yesterday, we hear the report from Shams Charania that the guy we've been waiting for this whole offseason, essentially Grimes Watch, has been holding the offseason hostage. The two sides, the Sixers and Quentin Grimes, are far apart in negotiations. As a matter of fact, just yesterday, this was the only thing that was super surprising to me. Just yesterday was the first day the Sixers offered a formal deal to Quentin Grimes in his camp. What have you made of the recent reports surrounding Quentin Grimes and the Philadelphia 76ers?
You know, it's kind of weird. Like, I know, like, everybody, I mean, here's the thing about the reports. You know, when you're a restricted free agent, you know that the Sixers, the way they deal with it, how Daryl Morey deals with it, you know, he's letting the market determine what your value is. And by saying that is, if somebody makes an offer and if he wants to match that offer, he'll match it. If not, he'll let you go. The fact that no one came out and said anything and he didn't have an offer sheet talking about Quentin Grimes, the 76ers held pat and they waited. And we always talked about it was going to come down to the 11th hour. And sometimes when you do that, the longer you wait, you think that a person is going to get antsy, you know, they do this and they'll sometimes take what you offer them. To me, like I talked about it, I said I expected him to be coming to training camp. I expected him to make the trip to Abu Dhabi. Well, he's not going to do neither thing as of yesterday, right? That's not going to happen. So I'm a little surprised about that. But at the same time, you know, we look at it and you ask yourself, you know, do the Sixers have the cap space to go give him $25 million? Are they willing to go in the second apron on a guy, Quentin Grimes, when you have VJ Edgecombe waiting in the wings, Jared McCain, you know, guys that we'll talk about later. So it's one of those things where this is the bad part of business, but it's weird because to me, what I make of it also is here we go again. This is just another heading into training camp where the 76ers have a disagreement over a contract with a player. Or, you know, well, Ben Simmons, it wasn't really over the contract. He just didn't want to be here anymore. Same with Harden, but Harden wanted more money. So it's like kind of sort of, there's always drama heading into the 76ers preseason.
Yeah, it's weird to me, and I know I've said this before, but James Harden I get. The Ben Simmons stuff, I get to a certain extent. Joel Embiid and health, I get it. But Jimmy Butler, Tobias Harris, like I get that. The Quentin Grimes stuff, I'll use it again. I watched Quentin Grimes at the end of last year, really liked what I saw, wanted him to come back with the 76ers, but in no way, shape, or form was I expecting it to be the circus that it's been now, especially, as you put it, coming down to the 11th hour, where the report's also out there that, as you mentioned, he's not going to Abu Dhabi. He's not going to be there for training camp, and they're still very much working this whole situation out. And to just have offered a deal formally yesterday, that seems a bit off. I get the sense that the Sixers are looking at Quentin Grimes as this offseason has gone on. Like, okay, this guy's not going to hold us hostage. The deal's going to be the deal. Maybe we can have a little bit of wiggle room. Yeah, maybe we'll see if we could trade Kelly Oubre or Andre Drummond in the offseason. That didn't happen. So now they want to get into this season with what they have. But as far as Quentin Grimes is concerned, I think the Sixers now look at him potentially as a guy that's a little bit more expendable than what they thought they had at the end of the season last year, especially now with Jared McCain being healthy, him working out, him being in scrimmages, and then the most obvious, VJ Edgecombe was their third overall pick. So I think the Sixers look at this as a situation right now with Quentin Grimes where he has become more expendable as the year has gone on, or the offseason has gone on.
Yeah, he has. But the mind-boggling thing is, you made the draft before free agency started. Like, you made that selection, and you decided to get rid of Gershon Yabusele so you can sign Quentin Grimes. It's crazy, man. Like, because then you look at it and you say, well, what's the Sixers' biggest question mark heading into the preseason? I mean, heading into the preseason. It's the power forward position, right? So, you're saying, like, well, maybe, you could have said to him, like, hey, man, you're not coming back unless we have a short deal or whatever, like, because we're going to get Gershon. Like, we're going to get Gershon, a guy who really wanted to be here. So to me, that's the crazy part about it. But yeah, you're right. And then when you look at it, we're saying, Gershon, you could have given him the mid-level exception, but Quentin wants to get paid. And here's the thing. I know a lot of people will say Quentin doesn't want to be here. He doesn't want to do this and that. No, what it is it's kind of sort of like you only have one opportunity to get paid. And he played extremely well for the Sixers during that stretch. And even before the Sixers, it was like he played extremely well in Dallas. He didn't have as many opportunities. So it's one of those things where he didn't have as many opportunities, so his points per game wasn't as high. So it's one of those things where you look at it, if you're Quentin Grimes and you're saying, this is my time to get paid because I don't know what the next contract is going to be. So yeah, you do have to ask for the most you can get. And the fact that, like you said, the Sixers, yesterday was the first day that they actually made a formal offer. It's kind of like you just can't fault him. You got to fault both of them.
Oh, absolutely.
Being tied up, because when you make an offer, we all know that. What do you say? You say, no, I want more. And then you come back with what you think you're worth. And then they come back with something in between. Right. So, now we're talking about that they're trying to get it pushed back to October 8th. So that way the deadline, so then maybe they could get something worked out. So we'll see. But, I do not fault Quentin Grimes for trying to get paid. I just don't.
Neither do I. And I fault the Sixers for kind of going about this in the offseason ass backwards. If you do address the power forward position as a position of need, or you look at it as a position of need, you identify it as a position of need, then Yabusele's here and Quentin Grimes isn't. We move on from that rather quickly. But now Sixers have kind of shifted course. I don't know what shifted their course because they knew the situation with Grimes, with or without Gershon Yabusele. Did they expect to take Ace Bailey in the draft and then things turned around and they really fell in love with VJ Edgecombe? Like, what do you think was the dynamic shift here that made them almost reverse course to the point where they're looking at Quentin Grimes not just as expendable now, but also as maybe not being a guy that's worth more than even $13 million, let alone being worth more than the 8.7 that he's on the 1-year deal with right now, that the qualifying offer. So what do you think shifted the Sixers' philosophy, if anything?
I think it could be a combination of a lot of things, right? I do think that when you look at a guy like Ace Bailey, let's say, like if you do select him, you look at him as a 3-4, so to speak. You look at Quentin Grimes as a 2. So whereas, you can possibly, like, he has more value. But I also think the fact that they did get a draft pick, like if they didn't have a draft pick at all, I think Quentin Grimes would have got paid. I think that he would have been one of their priorities, and they would have hyped him up as if that he was our number one offseason acquisition, right? Yeah. But then when you look at it, the combination, I mean, we look at upside, and we look at when you're paying somebody that much money down the road, and then you have a guy now, a VJ Edgecombe, waiting in the wings, who's the 3rd overall pick, and you look at Joel Embiid and Paul George, who, Joel Embiid looks to be in the best shape of his, not his life, but the best shape that he's been in a while.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about physically. We don't know what the knee holds up. But then you look at Paul George, who's like injured, and Joel has a knee problems. Sometimes you got to start like playing some of these younger guys to see what you have for the future. So if you have VJ Edgecombe and then you have Quentin Grimes, it's kind of sort of like, okay, one's a third overall pick. We got to see what we have with him because he's going to need an extension in a couple years. What are we going to give him? You understand what I'm saying? And then
absolutely.
Some other things that you said too. When we talk about, okay, Kelly Oubre making $8 million, he picked up his option. You know what I mean? Andre Drummond picked up his option. Now we got Eric Gordon coming back, right? So it's kind of sort of like there's a log jam at that position. And then, by the way, we're such and such million away from the second apron. But we don't know if we're going to win the championship this year. So it's not like going all in for a championship push. And then you can do like what the Boston Celtics and everyone did, just disband this team. Well, you really can't disband the team because you have two like large contracts nobody wants, Embiid and Paul George. So I think it's a combination of all the things that transpired that probably had them feeling this way. But, I do think that maybe another thing is, let's look at VJ. Maybe people look at VJ and they look at him and say, hey, he has a chance to be better than we expected.
Yeah. And look, all honesty, I hope that's the case because I can't say this enough. I've said this throughout the offseason. I like Quentin Grimes. I want Quentin Grimes back on this team. However, I was not expecting this to be the circus or the long, dragged out negotiation that it has been. Now, I expected this to last a while, but I didn't expect to hear on the Wednesday, now it's Thursday, but yesterday, the Wednesday leading up to camp and media day, Keith, I did not expect to hear that the Sixers are only just now making that offer. That to me is a kind of take it or leave it mentality. We'll do it with you or without you. We'll be the same either way. Maybe they feel even better about where everybody else on this team is. Maybe they feel better about where Paul George is. Maybe they feel better about where Joel Embiid is. That has made Quentin Grimes just be like, yeah, we'll be fine. That's fine. Take it or leave it. Here's the deal. No? Okay. Well, we'll be in Abu Dhabi. Think about it. See you later. I didn't expect it to take this long. That's what really the biggest surprise to me. Now, you came up, you mentioned you told a great story a couple of weeks ago about VJ Edgecombe and the way that maybe the rest of the NBA is looking at this situation with the Sixers. I'm going to tee you up for that when we come back. This is Locked On 76ers and the Locked On Sixers YouTube channel. And hey, let me tell you right now about the amazing people at FanDuel. You're taking advantage of what FanDuel has to offer. NFL season is here. It's upon us. Thursday night football tonight. FanDuel is making sure you're ready for each and every kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So just think about FanDuel and all the fun you could have on. I love using FanDuel. It fits however I like to bet that particular game, that particular night, player props, same game parlays, even jumping in live as the action unfolds. It makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or your fantasy team unfold in front of you. It's quick. It's easy. It's the best way to add a little bit more excitement to your game day. So you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app by going to FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. And if it hits, you get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app for new customers. So check out FanDuel.com and download the FanDuel app. You had told a story a little while back, Keith, regarding VJ Edgecombe. You were talking to, I believe it was an executive with another team in the NBA, not the Sixers. And they were kind of giving you their take on the Grimes Sixers negotiations or offseason process. And what was that take again, Keith?
I mean, basically what they said is, right now it's one of those things where, okay, so I asked the executive, I said, I think that right now, I said, do you think that VJ Edgecombe at this moment is better than Quentin Grimes. And I said, right now you got Quentin Grimes. He's a better 3-point shooter. He has more experience in the league. VJ Edgecombe is a young guy. He looked good in summer league, but at the same time, he has yet to play in the NBA game. So maybe if the 76ers are going to go out and think that they have a chance at a championship push, it might be in their best interest to bring in Quentin Grimes and pay him. The executive said, reverse that question. I'm like, what do you mean? And I'm like, what do you mean? He says, now ask yourself, is Quentin Grimes better than VJ Edgecombe? And he says, no, seriously, think about it. Ask yourself, is he better than him? And I said, well, more experience. He says, no, but is he better than him? He said, Keith, when you have a number 3 overall pick, a young guy, you have to play him. You have to play him. And he's saying, like, it might be in the Sixers' best interest. That's what he said, for this guy to pick up the qualifying offer and then see what he can do for a year and then move on, or like not move on, but, make a decision a year later, whatever. He said, because right now you got VJ Edgecombe, you have to play the guy. That's what he said. You have to play him. So, who knows? Maybe the 76ers feel the same way now. Like this guy, you look at his ability to be in the open floor, to do certain things. Now, to me personally, Quentin Grimes' 3-point shooting is elite, right? VJ Edgecombe isn't that type of player, but maybe they feel as if, like with Jared McCain coming back, maybe he's not as good a lethal 3-point shooter, but he is in that level, a guy that certain people in Philly, some people have given up on because he's older. But we all know that Eric Gordon is an elite 3-point shooter, right? So with that being said, maybe they're looking at it like, look, we got all these bodies, people that we can bring in and do certain things. But according to the executive, he feels like that you got to play VJ Edgecombe. You just have to. And when you look at it, VJ is going to make $11 million this year, right? So he's probably, what is VJ? VJ is the fourth, at this particular time, the 4th highest player on the paid player on the roster. Wow. Now, of course, if Quentin Grimes comes back, he'll replace him with that. But then when you're looking at it, you're like, okay, 20, 11, this guy is a whole lot younger. We think that he's going to be a important piece. They're also getting an up close look at him. Like, he's been at the Rico Hines runs. He's been at those 6 a.m. morning workouts with Tyrese Maxey. There's a lot of different things that's going on.
Mm-hmm. It really is fascinating though, because if the Sixers have pivoted, then that means they have really not handled some other things well in this offseason, like just having the glaring need at the 4 spot in their starting lineup, for instance. That's just hey, look, I like Kelly Oubre and all that. He's not my prototypical 4-man. He's not my prototypical power forward, to use that phrase. But, that to me is just, it seems like they have botched it in that regard. Now, on the other side of it, though, maybe they're playing their cards right when it comes to the guard position, where they're saying, okay, we realize and acknowledge that we're a better team if Quentin Grimes is here, but we're willing to pay the startup costs with VJ Edgecombe as he gets his NBA career underway and makes those rookie mistakes and hopefully grows and matures and all that. We're willing to pay those now as opposed to next year. And if that costs us Quentin Grimes this year and for a couple, then fine, because VJ Edgecombe could be past that. He might be even past it now. I would doubt it, but in due time, a year, maybe 2, you'd be talking about being glad that you invested those startup costs in your third overall pick in VJ Edgecombe. The thing is with Grimes, though, if you're asking me again if I want him on the team this year, absolutely. But I don't want the Sixers to overpay for him, and I don't want it to cost the development of VJ Edgecombe or Jared McCain, who really grabbed a lot of people's attention, took a lot of people by surprise yesterday, including his own front office and head coach, and balled out through the 23 games that we saw him play in. If Quentin Grimes can come here and stay here and come off the bench or be in your starting 5, depending on what you're paying him, then that makes your team that much more deep. And then maybe there's a changing of the guard maybe midway through the season where you feel like some of those younger players have taken a big step forward and they start to get more minutes over him. But the impact overall of VJ Edgecombe on this whole scenario, I think, is a huge impact. And then the other impact also comes from Jared McCain. Without Jared McCain in the mix, I think you're pulling out all the stops. Without VJ Edgecombe in the mix, I think you're pulling out all the stops for Quentin Grimes. But the fact that you have two young players that you want to see take that step forward makes a guy like Quentin Grimes all that much more, to use the word again, expendable.
On that too, and then here's another thing. Like, if we want to be real too, like, it does make him expendable. But here's the thing: like, unfortunately for Quentin Grimes, no one, he doesn't have an offer sheet. So the Sixers are looking at it like, yo, we control the market. Like, where else is he going to go? Like, it's kind of, unfortunately, it's kind of sort of like, okay, well, is he going to take this offer sheet? If he doesn't, then we can renegotiate some other stuff with him or go somewhere else. But it just seems to me that they have the leverage right now. You know what I mean? Like, they have the leverage, and they have the leverage, and they know it. And unfortunately, it's just how this business is as well, right? It's kind of like you go through these like heat negotiations where everyone's hating each other, like, you know, each side is hating the other, one side's hating the other, and then they come out and they say, "Hey, man, you know, that's just negotiations. We love you. We're happy that you're a part of the team. Go out there and kill it. Yeah, we knew you that guy." But it's just part of it, man. This is part of it, unfortunately for him.
When it comes to Grimes, what's your gut telling you right now as far as how all this ends? Is he in Philly? Do you work out some kind of miraculous sign and trade? Is he signing a $20 million deal? Like, what per year? What's your gut tell you about how this ends?
I mean, I don't. It's kind of tough to say because I thought, based on everything, you know, missing time, based on how this is an important season, I was under the expectation that both sides would try to get something hammered out before now. Right. You know, now we're hearing that they want to have an extension, you know, on the deadline to accept the qualifying offer. So, you know, I really don't know. Like, I mean, I probably think at the end of the day, he'll probably get the qualifying offer, or maybe he'll get something else. But it's hard to say because it seems like there has been no dialogue whatsoever, you know, none. And we know there was a couple weeks back that everybody went crazy online when he posted a picture of himself in the 76ers uniform. So everybody thought that maybe there was some negotiations coming in at that particular time. But it, you know, maybe it wasn't anything official, if there was anything. So it's hard for me to say, man, honestly. At this particular time, because I was under the expectation that tomorrow Quentin Grimes would step to the podium and everyone would ask him, what is it like to secure a deal with the 76ers moving forward?
Yeah, right. What was the first thing you bought? What's the first thing you bought with your new $18.5 per year $1 million deal? What'd you do? But that we're all sitting and we're all waiting still, being held hostage by the Quentin Grimes situation. Keith, when we come back, we didn't mention this yet. I want to ask you about, well, we've talked about Media Day, but I want to ask you one thing about Media Day. And then also Ace Bailey parts ways with his agent, just like that. I want to ask you about that when we return. This is Locked On 76ers on the Locked On Sixers YouTube channel. Back after this. Oh, boy. Can't wait to tell you about Skims. When I found out Skims was making underwear for men, I was intrigued. I've heard so much about their quality from friends, from family, because, you know, this is what we talk about. So I had to give it a try. Let me tell you, it lives up to the hype, okay? Always had an issue with underwear fitting comfortably, and Skims is the most comfortable. Their men's line offers something for everyone, from boxer briefs to classic briefs, all designed with the perfect balance of comfort and style. Tried Skims boxer brief. I'm hooked. Now you know. These are the perfect for, you know, chasing, you know, the little ones around, which is about as active as I get. Playing soccer as well. Landscaping when I'm taking care of the yard. Skims, breathable, wonderful fabric. Absolutely love it. SKIMS Mens at skims.com. Check it out. Shop SKIMS Mens at skims.com. Let them know we sent you as well. You place the order with select Locked On 76ers in the survey. Put that, and you select this show in the drop-down menu that follows. That's at skims.com. Shop SKIMS Mens at skims.com. So Ace Bailey, Keith, as some people kind of speculated, anticipated even after the draft when he wound up in Utah, a lot of people thought, oh, good riddance to him, getting what he deserves, probably going to fire his agent, blah, blah. Well, yeah, he's separated with his agent. And there was a connection, no, between his agent and the Jazz coaching staff, was there not?
I mean, not really, man.
Not really? What was that?
I mean, I think that's. I mean, they made the guy. They just made the dude a G League, not a G League. They just made him a summer league assistant coach. That's what it was. Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
all right.
Yeah, it wasn't
anything
not
permanent.
like that. No, it was like it was just like it was kind of like a guest coach. And the thing is, like, if you think about it, the 76ers, the 76ers had a couple assistants in that for the summer. Like, people do that a lot. So it wasn't really, that. I mean, it looked kind of crazy just because it was the agent's son, you know what I mean, who was there. Yeah. So, but yeah, that's what it was. I mean, it looked crazy, but you see that a lot. Like, maybe not the agent's son, but you see where you see in the summertime they'll have like just random assistant coaches and stuff like that. So yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, fair enough. Now, when it comes to media day, I assume Quentin Grimes gets moved more to the top of the list now. But anything else pop up in your mind surrounding media day? You'll be there at the NovaCare Complex, still on football. Be there at the Camden practice facility tomorrow. Grimes, I guess, moving his way up that list rather quickly with yesterday's news.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you want to see what the 76ers have to say, right? But to me, it still seems like the main story is Joel Embiid and Paul George. Like, what are they coming back? But you know what? To me, overall, I need to get I think they're all smaller stories, but I think the big overview story is the state of the 76ers. Like, where are they at, right? Where are the 76ers at? So, to me, that's what we need to know. Like, not only that, like, I want to find out how healthy is Jared McCain. Where is VJ Edgecombe up to speed at? Well, what's the mindset for Kelly Oubre? Like, we saw what he had to say in regards to there, or like, basically, like, is this team health wise with the Joel? And I'm like, are they healthy enough to make a splash? You know what I mean? Okay, another guy, another old guy like Eric Gordon. We talked about him. Like, what can they realistically expect from him this season? You know what I mean? Because he was shooting 50% at one particular time before he got injured from three. So to me, all this stuff is combined to one big old story to make you feel like what's going on.
All right. I want to take a couple comments here. First one, I see this Philly Sheriff. Thank you very much. Marc, a SKIMS model? I don't know. I'm very versatile. You're welcome. Win
I was
forever.
The same. Like, okay, bro. My man.
Catch the full body show tomorrow. No. VJ and Maxey a better duo than Maxey and Grimes. Yabu is not good, though. We can get a power forward. Yeah, I hope so. What do you think about VJ and Maxey being better than Maxey and Grimes, Keith?
I mean, I don't know. We got to see. We have to see. I mean, I think that's the waiting thing. Like, right now, a lot of people, and that's not a knock against those two. I mean, but we've seen what Maxey and Grimes did together. We saw that. The VJ thing, we have to see it. I mean, you have to see it in actual NBA competition. But again, you got to put it out there at a certain time to see if they can play together, right? You have to.
Right.
But yeah, that's one of those things that it's kind of too early to say. Really, it is.
Jamal Child's asking this question. Keith, you got the inside sources. Don't let me invest my emotion in this season. Is Embiid healthy or are they posting to sell tickets? Hopefully both, he's saying. Thank you, Jamal. I appreciate it. You have the man's emotions in your hands, Keith. What's
I do think that Joel Embiid, I think it's to be determined in regards to the knee. Like, we have to get out there and he has to play on it, and you'll see like how the swelling is and everything like that. But I will say that his body, outside of like the ailments with the knee and all that stuff, he does look like he's in the best shape that he's been in a long time. I mean, he's slimmed down a lot, but again, it looks good, right? But at the same time, you'll have to figure it out, because if you remember, there was a chance there was a time in January where he came back, and I want to say it was January the 4th or January the 6th against the Brooklyn Nets, where he just dominated Brooklyn, like dominated. And then next thing you know, he missed like the next 6 or 7 games or whatever because of the knee was swelling. And then there was times where, he would play and he would have great stretches, but he could only play like 3 or 4 games in a row. And then he would have to take off 2 weeks. So to me, those are the next steps that we have to see. Like right now, you can say back then we said he was healthy, but you have to see how his body responds to the wear and tear of the NBA season, practicing. Well, he really doesn't practice that much because, he just doesn't. But right. Let's say playing the game, then doing the recovery, then the game the next night, and then off again, the game the next night. Well, you have to see after those 6 days or whatnot, how his knee is responding. And I think that's the next true test.
Well, Keith, I look forward to talking to you tomorrow with Media Day going on and all that fun stuff. This is Locked On 76ers. Make sure you guys like and subscribe to Locked On 76ers YouTube channel. His name is Keith Pompey. My name is Marc Farzetta. We'll have some info on all that and more tomorrow on Locked On 76ers. Catch you guys tomorrow.